Welcome back to I'm Never Gonna Name This Show, where I look at old text that's really hard to understand and explain it to the modern reader and listener. We've done exclusively Shakespeare on this show, so I figured why not keep that ball rolling? Today on the docket is Romeo and Juliet. Well, not the whole thing, the prologue to Romeo and Juliet, which if you take a close look at it, that's a sonnet. Yeah, look at it. 14 lines, 10 syllables each, iambic stresses, A, B, A, B, C, D, C, D, E, F, E, F, G, G. That doesn't help you understand it any better. I just like telling people that because most people don't know. On to the text! The first line. 2 households, both alike in dignity, in fair Verona, where we lay our scene. He's setting the stage for us. 2 households, 2 families, both alike in dignity, of similar status. So 2 families of similar status, of similar class, of similar renown and reputation, in fair Verona, a place in Italy, where we lay our scene. So we have 2 families of similar status in Verona. That's where we're taking place. From ancient grudge breaks to new mutiny, where civil blood makes civil hands unclean. From ancient grudge breaks to new mutiny. So there is an ancient grudge, an ancient rivalry between these 2 households that breaks to new mutiny, that causes new conflict. This ancient feud still causes issues today, where civil blood makes civil hands unclean, where they kill each other, is what he's saying. The blood of these civil people is being spilled upon the hands of other civil people. They're murdering each other. I also just want to point out that he says civil blood makes civil hands unclean because they're doing very barbaric things, but he uses the opposite by calling them civil. It's clever, I like it. From forth the fatal loins of these 2 foes, a pair of star-crossed lovers take their life. So from forth the fatal loins of these 2 foes, their loins are your sexual bits. And when something comes forth from your loins, that means that you've given birth to it. So the children of these 2 foes, a pair of star-crossed lovers means, well, I have to explain. Back in the day, people believed that you could read the stars and tell people's fortunes from them because the stars and their alignment upon your birth preordained your destiny, and they could be read by somebody who had the skill to do it. It's astrology nowadays, actually. So from these 2 rivals, their children, who are a pair of star-crossed lovers, they are destined to fall in love, take their life. They kill themselves. Whose misadventured, piteous overthrows do with their death bury their parents' strife. Whose misadventured, piteous overthrows is not how we talk anymore, but whose misadventured, meaning that it was a misfortune, it was unfortunate. Piteous overthrows, piteous meaning to be pitied, to be felt sorry for. Overthrows in this case means basically their actions, their doings, the events that have unfolded, the misfortunate and piteous events that have unfolded, do, with their death, bury their parents' strife. So the death of these star-crossed lovers is going to finally lay to rest the rivalry between these 2 households. He's kind of just spoiling the whole story, actually. The fearful passage of their death-marked love and the countenance of their parents' rage, which but their children's end naught could remove, is now the 2 hours' traffic of our stage. This part is a little harder to understand because you have to cut it up a little strangely, but here we go. The fearful passage of their death-marked love, the unfolding of events of their love leading to their death-marked love, it is love that is marked with death, and the countenance of their parents' rage. Countenance means face, so the face of their parents' rage. So he's saying, the love that leads to death and the rage of these 2 families that is so strong that only their children's end could stop it is now the 2 hours traffic of our stage, is now what you are going to see on this stage. For the next 2 hours, we are going to tell you the story of this love that leads to death and these parents' rage. That which, if you with patient ears attend, what here shall miss, our toil shall strive to mend. This couplet only makes sense if you're watching the play and not reading the script. The which, if you with patient ears attend, so if you listen closely, if you sit and patiently listen to what we have to say, what here shall miss, meaning what we cannot show, because keep in mind, this is being done for the stage, and there are some things you can't show on stage. Like, you can't go to different locations, you can't actually murder somebody on stage. Well, I mean, you could, but usually you don't. You can't do a lot of things because of the restrictions of theater. So you do have limitations. So whatever we shall miss, whatever we cannot show you, our toil will strive to mend. Our efforts are going to fill in those blanks. The gaps that we have in the story that we are telling, we are going to mend them if you simply sit here and patiently watch what we are about to do. It really is a beautiful opening to a show. I hope it was informative. I hope it helped you teach your class, or I hope it helped you do your homework assignment for the night. If you want to see more, I also explain other sonnets and Shakespeare speeches around my face. I always plug it. I do a thing called Speech Jam Poetry, where I read different poems with a speech jammer, and I get really angry and really frustrated, and it's really funny, I think. If you're watching this in a classroom, there's swearing in those videos because, like I said, frustration. Oh, turn up top! Good night.